now that we have our crankshaft with our timing gear all pressed on, we're ready to install it into the block. And we're getting ready to just install that in the block, and we'll take a look at our camshaft. This is Dyno Cam's 121 grind, welded low billet camshaft. Cam card, you're going to want to hold on to that for later reference. Unbag the cam. And you can see, this is the area here that we're going to need to dress and clearance for the connecting rod, and get the old camshaft here. And you can see, even though this camshaft is broken, you can see just how much meat has been taken out of the middle of that cam to be able to clear the rod. Compared to what they look like when they're new. And you can also see by looking at the exhaust, this is the exhaust lobe on the broken cam. If you can, let's see if I can get a clear shot. You can see how this side of the lobe is cut down a little bit compared to this one. To clearance the counterweights. It looks like they cut a little bit off of this one as well, off of this side here. Whoop, I'll get it on camera. And maybe laid over this side a little bit. Alright, let's take a look at the timing gear. And you got your timing gear and your timing bolts. Oh, that's nice. They just changed the way they stamp these. And Dyno Cam's actually changed the way, I don't know if this is going to show up or not, but Dyno Cam's actually changed the way they mark their dots and their numbers. They used to be, their spokes were considerably more swept, and the dots were a little bit harder to see. I don't know if we can see it on this one. Yeah, I really don't know if this is going to show up or not, but I don't know if you can see, the light engraving on the numbers as far as where the degree marking is for the dot. But you can also, if you look right here, you can barely see, if you look right there, you can barely see a center punch mark right in the valley of the tooth of the gear. Let me see if I can find another one. Yep, there's another one right there, right where my finger is. And that's, that made, installing and lining up the marks a whole lot harder, compared with how easy these dots are to see. This is just, I'm really glad they changed their design on these. Much more clearly marked, much easier to work with. I was not expecting that. That's a pleasure. Alright, as for installing the gear, you slide the gear over. Let's see, where are we going to start? I guess we'll start with 0. Remember, your zero mark, or the timing mark you're going to use, is always going to be the one that's just to the left of the cam lobe, or the exhaust lobe. We've got the tip of the lobe here. When we put the cam on, I'm going to line it up so that our zero mark here is just to the right. I think I said to the left, but you're marking, you're lining up with the one that's just to the right of the exhaust lobe, as opposed to where we would be, just to the left, which would be this 6 degrees advanced mark. Well, let's put our bolts in this position. For the time being, since we're probably going to have this apart quite a bit, before the actual final install, I'm going to put 2 bolts in it just to hold it in place. That way we don't have to worry about taking out, every bolt and tightening it down. Just going to put them in finger tight. That way we're not, if we have to take the gear off to clearance anything, or, if we have to change, where our cam timing is set, we can do that. We can do that rather simply. Just put these cam bolts back in the box along with our cam card. Clear some of this stuff out of here. Okay, now let's see if I can't get you zoomed in here. Alright, now hopefully I've got you zoomed in to where you can see, and hopefully I can work around the camera. We got our cam lined up, or our gear installed on our cam on our zero mark. And one of the things that people tend to struggle with first building is one of these junior motors is that when the piston is at top dead center, that the dots should line up when you install the cam, and unfortunately that is not the case. So when you install the cam at top dead center to where the piston's at top dead center, your timing marks won't line up until you actually roll the motor over. And I think that has to do with the fact that we're using a stock Briggs & Stratton 5-horse gear on a motor that's been significantly increased in the stroke. And as you can see, I got it 1 tooth off. So we're gonna come back around here, pull our cam back out. I'm gonna drop our cam back down 1 tooth. And now you can see our timing marks lined up. Alright, now that we've got our cam installed for the initial setup, remember we're going to have this thing in and out any number of times. This is going to take quite a bit of grinding on both the cam, the crank, and maybe even a little kissing of the connecting rod to get everything to clear and rotate. Especially considering we have a brand new crankshaft, we have a brand new camshaft, brand new connecting rod. Everything's going to need to be looked at. So we'll take our clearencing tool, make sure we have the Blockzilla this side out, slide it over our crankshaft, get it up on our cam, get the dowels lined up in there. Alright, and that's how that all works. And we'll see if we can't roll it over. Keep my hand out of the way here. Oh, a little bit of touching right there. Let's go back around. See if we can't take it backwards. I think I heard just a little bit of got one revolution out of it. I think I heard just a little bit on the intake. Oh, there we are again. Alright. Now we're back where we started. Let's see if I can't tilt this up. Give you a shot inside. I think I might need to get some more light. 1 second here. See if I can hold the light and this and rotate it. We were going forward when we first hit the initial contact. There it is. You can see the intake lobe touching the counterweight. So we're going to want to take that corner of the counterweight and round it off. Still going the same direction. Yep, we'll just have to round off a little bit. Get something to mark. Where we want a radius. Where we're touching here. So we know we're touching the crank and the cam. And we're going to have to take what looks like probably quite a bit of material off of that corner of the crank. Now we had some contact going backwards. Let's see if we can see. Oh, that cleared the first time. There we are. That same corner of the crankshaft. That same corner of the counterweight of the crankshaft touching that same intake lobe. And that looks like there's the exhaust lobe passing the counterweight. That looks like the only thing we're going to need to do for our initial clearance. So off camera I'm going to take the crankshaft out, and I'm going to grind off that section of the counterweight, and when we come back we'll be putting it all back together and seeing if it'll roll over. Alright, back, we got our camshaft, our initial grind on our crankshaft. You can see we took, basically just rounded off this corner here. You can see I didn't touch it a whole lot, just enough to round it over. So let's put it back in and we'll see if we'll clear. Make sure that's seated all the way in there. Yep. Let's go ahead and reinstall our camshaft. I generally mark those with a Sharpie once I find out which tooth I gotta go in. Yep, and I'm still a tooth off. Move that up. Yeah, I should have done this before. Usually I'll just put a line through the valley of one. You know, that way it gives me a point of reference to where, you know, I've got a nice area to, you know, clear the lobes to where I can put the cam in. Get those marks lined up. And I know that my actual timing marks are lined up when I install it. Let's go ahead or get our clearencing tool back on. Push it up on the dowels, and might as well just roll it up. Get my light. And zoom in. Now remember, we were hitting on that intake lobe down there. Well, here comes the area where we clearanced, and it looks like that clearance very well. Actually, probably could have taken off less. But as we're going to be probably moving the cam on the cam gear, we'd probably end up taking a little bit more off that area anyway. And a good rule of thumb to make sure that is to roll it backwards. Make sure that you actually got everything clearanced properly and that nothing's actually going to hit. Because I've seen a lot of times where you'll roll the motor in the direction of its normal travel and everything will clear, but it won't start, and you go to roll it backwards and things will bind up and you'll actually hit the counterweights on the lobes, you know, on the cam lobes. But we've backed it off. You really only need to do it 2 full revolutions, but I've lost count, so we've definitely gone backwards more than 2 revolutions at this point, so we know everything's going to clear. And so now that we know everything's going to clear, when we rotate everything, we're ready to go ahead and we're going to look at getting our piston and connecting rod out, getting those installed, and see if we can't get the connecting rod to clear, you know, inside the middle of that cam.